Students, welcome to the VTU online classes. In today's class, we learn about the fourth module of DBMS, which concentrates on the query processing, optimization techniques, and the properties of the transactions called as ACID properties. And we'll just have a glance about how the concurrency control works in the query processing. The fourth module deals with the query processing, optimization of the transaction processing, right? In the previous all the modules, we have started learning about how to write the query. What is the use of the query? The queries are mainly used to create the database, to access them, to manipulate them. We can delete the information and we can add the new information, or we can update the data that is present in the database, right? So the queries are basically helping us to work with the DBMS. Okay, so when a particular query is written, at the background, the DBMS will be thinking about how it can be processed, right? So we learn about that query processing. Next one is the same query with the same result can be received by n number of ways, right? For example, I want to find out the employees who have the salary greater than 5,000 rupees. Okay, there are two ways for me. One is either I can concentrate on their salary and find out all those rows where the salary is greater than 5,000. Second way is I can discard those rows where the salary is less than 5,000. Okay, there are two ways. So among the available n number of options for the execution of a query to yield the same result, I'll be checking which one is a better solution for me to yield that particular result. For that one, I am taking the help of the optimization, right? So what we are learning in this chapter, we are learning how the queries are processed and how the best way of execution of a query is decided by the DBMS. So in this content, we learn about the query processing, optimization, ACID properties, and bit introduction towards the concurrency control. So if you look at this particular query, what comes to your mind, right? These are the simple queries. What I want to know, if you just look at this query, I want the name of the students and the date of birth. Okay, that's why I have written select the name and date of birth from the student. All the three are telling the same thing, right? Select from the student what I want, name and date of birth. Second one is telling me from the student table I want the name and date of birth, right? And the last one is telling select the name, date of birth from the student, right? Let us see how the queries are processed. Now, when a query is given as an input to the DBMS software, first thing what it does is it splits the given query into the basic units called as tokens, right? What are the basic units here? I have written them in different colors. Select is one token, from is one token, similarly student, name, comma, this one, date of birth, and the semicolon, right? So first one is I check whether each and every token, whether they are written properly or not. Yes, select spelling is correct, from spelling is correct. I have a table called a student, it is also correct. Attribute name is NAME and DOB, they are correct. But the second turn is parsing, wherein I am interested in whether these tokens are arranged in a syntactical proper manner or whether the sentence is written in a grammatically correct or not. If you look at all these three statements here, all the statements have a proper tokens, but grammatically they are not correct. Look here, select from student, name, comma, date of birth. What is the syntax? The syntax for writing the select query is use the keyword select followed by the attribute list, then from which table name, right? This is our syntax. If I compare the correct syntax with the other two statements, they are wrong. Okay, this is how the queries are processed. So what happens when the query is being processed? When the query is being processed, it scans to identify the tokens. Second one, it parses, that it checks whether the query syntax are written grammatically correct or not. Next one, it does the validation to see that all the attribute names and relation names are written correctly. Next one is, once they are done, the query tree are created, and then the which one is a better execution plan will be decided by the DBMS. So let us take one more example. What is the statement here? Select last name and the first name from which table? From employee table. But do I want all the last name and first name? No, I have a restriction here. What is that restriction? I am filtering with respect to the column salary. But what is the constraint on the salary to be checked? What it says? The salary has to be greater than the maximum salary paid to any employee of department number 5, right? So what this query is talking about, we want the list of the last name and first name of the employees from any department, but they should earn more than the highest salary that is paid in the department number 5. Now this salary will be cross verified with the output that I will get from the inner query here. So what the query processing will do now? The query processing steps are what here? A high level query is written, right? I have written a high level query here. We do the scanning, parsing, and validation is over. Next, what does? That valid query will be sent to the optimizer. Optimizer decides which is the better way of executing a particular query, because a same result can be obtained by n number of queries. Which one is the better one, right? Next, when the better execution plan is decided, what this particular query code generator will do? It will execute that particular selected best query. Okay, so when it starts executing, what is the meaning? We are into the runtime because our query is actually running. So we are executing it in the real environment, that is runtime. So during the runtime, it may come across with errors or it may give me the result. So generating a result or generating the error message is the task of runtime database processor. So these are the steps in a processing of a high level query. The first step is what? The query is given as an input. It's scanned, parsed and validated. That validated query is an input to the optimizer, wherein it decides which is the best execution plan. Then the query generator will, according to the selected plan, it generates a query. Next, executes it. When it is executing, the runtime database processor will take care of generation of a result as well as the errors. Next is, directly when a complex query is given, the database will work in step by step. The query processor will split your complex queries into smaller basic units and it will execute a single query at a time, right? What I meant by is a simple basic block means with single select from where, which may consist of group by as well as. When the SQL query is to be processed, what is required is we will split the given SQL query into the smaller blocks which we can handle them independently. They are translated into the algebraic operators, right? So we are translating the SQL queries into the relational algebra and with other operators. So basically the SQL, when it is working with the execution of a query, what is required is a huge complex statement is broken into smaller blocks which are called as the basic units, and it works with them one by one, right? Whenever there are the nested queries are there. In the previous example, we learned that we wanted the list of employees whose salary was controlled by the department 5's max salary, because I don't want everybody from the employee. I wanted the list of only those employees who were getting more salary than the maximum salary that is given in the department 5, right? So when I am working with that one, it was a nested query. One query was within the another query. So when I am executing the SQL query, what is required is we will split the particular query, or we decompose the query into query blocks, and each query block is capable of handling a single select from where expression, or it may consist of group by or having clause here. If you look here, the last example, what I wanted the list of the employees last name and first name from the table employee, but I had a restriction. So I am using here where, right? Where is deciding whom to take now. So whom I have to take? I want to take the employees whose salary is greater than the maximum salary paid in the department number 5 now. So for the second query, what are the restrictions now? I don't want any salary. I want the max salary, that too from the department 5 only. Now this particular query can be divided into two blocks now. The first one is the outer block and second one is the inner block. What this inner block is giving me as output? It just gives me one value, which is the maximum salary paid to an employee who belongs to department 5, right? That will be taken as a variable C here, right? Whatever the inner query gives me output, that is a max salary given to any employee in the department 5, will now be stored in the variable C. So how my outer query will look now? Outer query will look now like, select the last name, first name from employee. Now this particular nested query, the inner block is now replaced by just one value, that is C, right? If the maximum salary paid in the department 5 is 50,000, now this particular execution of a query will give me all those employees of any department who are getting more than 50,000, right? This is how it will be worked. Next one is, we need to translate it into the relational algebra. Let us see how the inner box looks and the outer block will look here. What was the intention of the inner block? It has to return the max salary paid to the employee in the department number 5. So depart select whom? Not everybody. I wanted the employees from the department number 5 only, right? But what I want? Do I want their name? No, I want the max salary here, right? This is how written in the algebra, relational algebra. Now this will be taken as C. Now C will be replaced where we are using the inner block. What was there in the outer statement? Outer statement was telling, select the last name and the first name from the employee who are getting more salary than the max salary of the department 5. Now max salary of department 5 is now reduced to just C. Only I need to write the outer query now. What was outer query? I want to project, means I want to display which columns? Last name, first name. From where? Employee. What is the restriction? Salary should be greater than C. What is C? C is the max salary paid in the department 5. Right? This is how the query will be converted to the relational algebra. Next one is, we have algorithms which are running at the background when we work with a particular SQL statements here. For example, if I use the keyword order by, so what is the task of order by in the SQL query? It sorts the details, order by department number, order by employee ID, order by marks. So it will give me a sorted list here. Let us see how this internally this sorting will work with the SQL queries. So when we are using this particular external sorting, it is not required for the SQL queries which are dealing with just 2 to 10 rows. This algorithm is suitable for those files which are very larger. I am unable to fit them entirely into my main memory for the execution. You should be knowing, whenever we want to work with any of the data in the computer, the value has to be present in the main memory, right? From the secondary storage, it has to be moved to the main memory, then only we can work with that particular value. This external sorting will help for those larger files who are unable to fit entirely into my main memory. If they are fitting, I can just sort them. But since I am unable to fit them at once, that time what I will do is, I will split the whole file into smaller units. I sort them individually, then I will club the sorted result. So we will see the two phases now. Let us assume that I have 1000 rows to be sorted now, and to store this 1000 rows at once in my main memory, there is no sufficient space available. So what I will do, depending upon the available buffer space in the main memory, I will split my whole data into that smaller portions, right? And I will sort them individually, right? I will take them to the main memory and sort them individually. So I will get, among one file, I will get n number of sorted subfiles. These subfiles are also called as runs, right? Runs. Once n number of small sorted subfiles are available, the next phase is what? I will go on merging the sorted files until I get the complete sorted whole file. So there are two phases in the external sorting. The first one is sorting, second one is merging. So let us learn it with one example. In the memory, we will assume that only 5 blocks are available. So let us assume that my file to be sorted is of the size 1024, right? But in the main memory, buffer space available is just 5 blocks, right? My file size is 1024 bytes, disk blocks. Available is only 5 blocks. So how many blocks I can sort at a given time? Only 5 blocks, because even though my file size is 1024 disk blocks, available main memory is only 5 disk block. So now this 1024 blocks to be sorted are to be one by one fit into only first 5 disk blocks which are available in the main memory, right? Then how many times I need to run the sorting algorithm? That is 1024 divided by 5, right? At one time, I'm capable of moving just 5 blocks, sort them, 5 blocks, sort them, 5 blocks and sort them until I reach 1024 disk blocks. So, how many subfiles will be created? The subfiles created will be 1024 divided by 5, that is 205 sorted subfiles will be available when I do the sorting, and they will be returned back to the disk as a temporary subfiles on the disk. So, let us learn it with the algorithm here. So, what the algorithm says, we are initializing a counter here, right? And what are the variables we require here? What is the file size to be sorted? What is the buffer size that is available, right? So, the file size B will be assigned to the variable J, and the number of blocks available in the buffer will be stored in the variable K. Then how many subfiles will be generated depends upon J divided by K, that is 1024 divided by 5, right? That value will be stored in M now, right? So, how many times this while loop has to be run now? It has to run for 205 times, because at one time I can just sort 5 blocks among the 1024 blocks which are there in the main file to be sorted. So, what I do? I take those KF blocks from the disk to the main memory, sort them, then write them back to the temporary subfiles, and I will increment this particular I. This I is incremented until I reach this 205, right? Like this, what I have done at the end of this particular algorithm execution, I have 205 sorted subfiles which are temporarily stored, right? They are temporarily stored, okay? Next, what is required now? I have sorted now, right? I have a small sorted files. I need to merge them now, so that at large I can sort the bigger 1024 sized file now. In that one, what is required for me to merge? What is required for the merge is, again it depends upon how many buffer space is available in the main memory, right? Because what I will do, I have around 205 subfiles, right, which are sorted individually. I have all the 205. What this degree of merge will ask me is, given time, how many files I am capable of merging, right? The number of sorted subfiles that can be merged in a single merge step. How many I can merge? That is decided by the buffer size that is available, because to merge also I need to take these subfiles to the main memory, merge them and store the result. So, merge them, store the result, merge them, store result. Now, I require one additional buffer. Even though I have 4 or 5, one additional buffer is required to store the merged value, right? Required for store the merge value. So, let us look into the algorithm here. Okay, the counter I is initialized to 1. Now, what is required is, how many times the merge will work has to be decided now, right? How many times I will merge it. So, I have 205 subfiles. I have 205 subfiles are there, okay. What is required is, I will find out P is equal to log to the base K minus 1. That is, I have 5 blocks available in the main memory, minus 1. Why this minus 1? Because I want to store the result in one of the buffer there, right? So log to the base of 4, 205 will become equal to 4. Means merge will work in 4 phases. The merge will execute 4 times, right? How it works in 4 times, right? For that one, Q is equal to 205 divided by the number of blocks which are available for merging. How many are available for merging? Only 4, right? Because the fifth one is to store the result there. So 205 divided by 52 will be stored in Q now. What is the meaning of this Q? That is, initially I have 205 sorted subfiles, right? They are merged 4 at a time, right? They are merged 4 at a time, right? So if they are merged 4 at a time means what? 205 divided by 4, because I have grouped them in terms of 4 blocks together, I am merging. So at this end result, 205, when it merges for the first phase, I get 52 merged files. Next iteration, because I have to work for 4 times now. Until I reach 1, I will be go on repeating it again and again. Now these 52 larger files are available, divided by 4, 13 sub files which are merged I get, again divided by 4. Like that, I'll go on clubbing the available sub files into the larger merged files to get this is repeated until I get one larger merged complete file. Okay, so to summarize this particular algorithm of merge, what it is? DM, that is the degree of merge will decide how many times that particular, how many phases of merge will happen. There is 4 ways of merging. How it is decided? It is decided by the number of buffers available, right? Number of file available, buffers available. For me, number of buffer available was 5. 1 is required to store the result. That's why it is 5 minus 1 is equal to 4. Next one is, initially I had 205 sorted subfiles. I will merge them 4 at a time. So I get 52 larger files. Now these 52 larger files again merged in group of 4 again. So 52 larger file, I'll come to 13 more larger files, and these 13 are again sorted into 4 files to get the entire file to be merged into 1. This is how the merge algorithm works. Now let us look into the performance with respect to the sort merge algorithm. The performance is measured in terms of how many disk blocks were read or written. When I am working with the sorting or merging, how many times I moved between reading and writing from the secondary memory to the main memory, because my DBMS file was in the disk. To sort it, I took it into the main memory, that to part by part, because entire file was unable to fit into the available memory. Okay, so it is measured in terms of number of disk blocks that were read or written, that is the movement between the disk and the main memory before sorting the whole file, right? So the formula is 2 into B plus 2 into B into log of degree of merge into number of runs. This is for sorting, this is for merging, right? This is for sorting, this is for merging. And when I add it, I get the complete performance here. why this is 2 into B only now, right? What I did when I was working with the sorting, what we did, we read the information from the disk to the main memory and return it back. Means 2 times I have accessed it. Each block was accessed twice. One to read, second one to write it. Right? What was our file size? It was 1024 disk blocks. So 2 times I have accessed it. That's why it is 2 into B. Right? It is 2 into B. Second, how about the merge now? In merge also, I was accessing all the data at a given time. 200 and subfiles were accessed. 200 and subfiles was equal to a whole complete file B, right? That's why equal to the original file blocks, right? 205 subblocks. What is the meaning? It is the entire file which was split into smaller sorted 205 blocks, right? Again here I have accessed twice. That's why it is 2 into B. But how many phases were there in the merge? How many times I merged it? Right? That has to be again multiplied. So it is here I have merged it for 4 times. 200 files were merged to generate 52. 52 were merged to get 13. 13 were merged to get me 1. 4 times I have merged it. Right? So what is the meaning? I was accessing the entire file twice, but I accessed it 4 times in my each phase of merge. That's why together the performance is 2 into B, which is for sorting, plus 2 into B into log to the base, the degree of merge into the number of subfiles.